Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Firstly, I want to just thank Professor Sophie. I mean, it's the first time I'm seeing you. I've been hearing so much. And Dr. Riaz and the rest of you. And also the panelists here who've made, I think, my job considerably easier because, again, I don't have to explain. And hopefully they've set the scene. So White Thread Institute is... The primary intention of White Thread Institute is to now get into the postgraduate realm. So we've got all of these graduates that are doing various different types of, playing different types of roles in the community, whether they've graduated from England, which is probably the vast majority of them now, or those who've graduated from abroad and they've come back. Now, they're doing all sorts of jobs, including taxi driving in some cases, because you have to earn a living sometimes. So after that rigorous study, they sometimes even, because you're in a very, sometimes you're in a very rigorous study regime when you're studying, whether that be at Ibrahim College or anywhere else for that matter. So sometimes there could be a disconnect, especially with the changing paradigms of this constantly changing world, if I'm to use that word again. Because if you look at the world, it's changed considerably. In the last 50 to 70 years at least, in such a way that it probably hasn't changed for centuries before that. And many are playing catch up. But at the same time as trying to play catch up, we're also trying to be cautious, proceed cautiously. Because to navigate these changes and to adjust and adapt to them so that you don't end up throwing the baby out with the water. And I think this is really important. So it becomes a very pressing need for graduates, alims and alimas, male and female graduates, to continually update their knowledge, develop new experiences, and learn better ways to impart and apply that wisdom in the community. Problem is that there weren't too many postgraduate courses, so graduates would either have to go to Markfield for a master's and so on. CMC, where I was a postgraduate researcher in 2013-14, I think. That's the only two places that they had in this country to further continue. The Cambridge course is really wonderful because I was there, so I know. Unfortunately, it's in Cambridge, so you can't get, you generally get fresh graduates there. You don't get those who are already in the community with the experience who can just go and take a part-time course very easily because it's up in Cambridge. I've always said it should have been in London, right? Or maybe somewhere else. But I guess it does what it does. So the other thing is that it focuses on the tertiary secular and social subjects that graduates, ulama, would need to better ground them in the context. They don't really deal with advanced Islamic subjects as such. So that's why we decided that there was a gap in the market. White Thread Institute, established in 2017, 2 years ago. We're in our second year right now. Precisely this purpose in mind. That's what it was established for, to provide actual studies in advanced Islamic subjects such as advanced Islamic jurisprudence, Quranic exegesis, Islamic theology, among other subjects. So I just want to explore our visions and just give you an idea of what we've done so far. Question is, why now? Why did we establish this right now? Don't expect any more slides. I'm actually replacing somebody else on this panel who couldn't make it, so I managed to get a paper ready, but not the slides. So that's about it. I think it looks nice, right? So that's good enough. So why now and why at all? So I think the case has been made. It's the right time now. I think maybe 10 years ago this may have not worked so well because you need a critical mass for an institute like this. After 6-7 years of study, 8 years of study in some cases, why would you want to carry on studying? You need to earn a living now, you need to get married, especially if you're in London. House issues are big challenges. So why would you continue studying? So when you have a critical mass, and I would say that in London alone there are at least, conservative estimate of at least 500 male and female graduates. Just in my Hackney alone, there must be over 100. Forest Gate, probably double that. Tower Hamlets, I'm not even sure. Ilford, and so on and so forth. It's a huge corpus. So not everybody wants to study, though, after those 6 or 7 years. And we felt that obviously London, and I think that was echoed here, that London, it has to be these great cities like London and New York, right? Yeah. Shanghai, Dubai, no? That's financial. Okay, so we thought there are many courses that we could actually establish. So there were courses in Islamic history, theology, Arabic language, advanced Arabic language, jurisprudence, Quran, hadith. We said, we've got limited resources. We're just trying this out first. Let us focus on the most practical course. And we decided that the most practical course we could run was the Iftar course, training muftis. Because there was a need for that, especially down south. We've had some courses up north, but nothing down south. And of great standard, there was a great lack in that regard. So we said, let's do the jurisprudence course. The Iftar course. We purposely made it very prohibitive. We made it 2 years full time. That means you can't just dabble in it, right? Because a lot of people want to do that. They got an interest. So, alhamdulillah, I mean, when we put out the offer out there, we probably received over 100 applications from around the world. You can't teach iftar to over 100 people because it's not about a lecture that you give. It's mentorship. It's training. We could only take in about 8 students. So we only interviewed about 13 or 14 students, after which we offered places to about 10 students, I think. 8 entered. Halfway down the line, mid-year exams, we decided that 2 could not carry on. So they were dismissed. And at the end of the year, another one had to be dismissed, and they did not make the upgrade to the second year. The course consists of in-depth study of several texts. But aside from that, one of the most important things is that we get them to write answers. Because that's really what a mufti is at the end of the day. Understanding of a text is one thing, but to be able to craft an answer, a response, a legal response for questions and problems that are arising, the nawazil in the community, that is where a lot of muftis lack. Because that's what I discovered in my training in 2 different places, and then observing other muftis over the course of the years. So not only do they study obviously the methodology, the iftar process in depth, proficiency in research and answering questions according to contemporary demands and sensitivities. I'm able to bring in what I got from SOAS during the PhD. My Kitab al-Nawazil study was actually in the first fatwa collection in the Hanafi school. That's what my PhD was on. So we're trying to marry that up with the way they study. So they, over the course of 2 years, they have to practice answering about 1,500 questions, which is way beyond most other mufti courses. Average mufti course will do about 150 to 250 questions over the course of their course, whether that's 1 year, if it's 2 years, maybe double that. We've already done about 1,200 questions, and there's 300 more. Aside from that, they have to write 2 critical papers on tracing points of differing views within the Hanafi madhab, within the Hanafi school, especially where there's conflict. They have to start from the earlier sources and do a chronological assessment of where various different things, different quyud, different conditions were placed, and how the whole trajectory of that came about. So just to digress quickly, because there were over 100 applications, we decided that there's a huge interest in jurisprudence in general. And I'm sure all of these people don't really want to go through the rigor of a mufti course. But that means there still is an interest. The reason there's an interest is when you're studying in the seminary, jurisprudence is seen as a very dry subject. And a lot of people don't really make an effort. But when they come out and then they ask questions as an imam or a chaplain, or even, as they said, local family, they suddenly realize, hey, I don't know how to answer this question. So now they want to go back and study fiqh, jurisprudence. So we then established the Advanced Jurisprudence Program, which is a part-time program, not as rigorous, 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. And that one is open online as well. So we got numerous students from around the world. We had over 20 students in that. The second area we decided that we need to start from in the first year was theology, because we've got some huge conflicts in people's mind, atheism, and a number of other issues, modern philosophies, that how do you reconcile them with certain Islamic philosophies. So we decided to start the Islamic theology program, and That we got we got Dr. Safaruk who's got his PhD from SOAS. We've got Ustaz Imran. So there's others teaching it. I teach the classical side of it. They teach the Western thoughts and Western intellectual tradition. They teach that. Going back to the Mufti course, the other distinctive feature of our course, the way we want to do it, is that because we only had 5 students left at the end of the first year, and we had room for up to 7 or 8. There were 2 very, very talented students in the jurisprudence course, the part-time course, both female. We had 2 here, we had to send 1 away, the others were men. But in this case, we had 2 very talented female students. We offered them a space into the second year. You'll do the first year, the year afterwards. 1 of them has joined, and now I can say we've got 6 very talented students, makeup of it, 4 guys and 2, 4 male and 2 female, and all very, very talented. Now in the next few months, as the year gets on and it's coming to completion, they're going to have to further specialize within the iftar field in a particular area. So we have about 8 areas. They can choose 1 or 2. One is Islamic bioethics, Islamic family and marital law, Islamic food and dietary law, Islamic inheritance law, citizenship, integration, and political issues. That's a big one. Islamic trade and commerce, which is probably oversaturated, really, right? There's a lot of finance experts out there. Women issues, menstruation, postnatal bleeding, dysfunction. I mean, this is a very complex issue, though it sounds so mundane, but it is very complex. I've outsourced that to my wife already. I taught her it, and she deals with those questions. Astronomy and prayer times, that's another contentious issue sometime as well. They're going to have to specialize in one of these areas, because these fields are so vast now, it's very difficult to ask a single mufti to really know everything unless they've had 50 years of research. So we want specialists now, create specialists, take an area and do that. Just a few minutes left. They will then obviously write a thesis in that area of specialization at the end of the year. And aside from that, there were 2 other courses we started in this now second year. We started a tafsir course, a Quranic study and tafsir course, very popular. People want to study that. And the third course that we're doing now is what we call the Sibawayh course, right? The Sibawayh is the Imam Sibawayh is an Imam of grammar. And this particular course, what we discovered over our journey is that there are a lot of graduates among these 500 and beyond who've graduated many years ago maybe, or they've graduated recently, but they didn't really work hard enough, or maybe they weren't provided the resources, because not all madrasas are the same, right? There are some that are definitely better than others, right? So we thought, what are we going to do with them? They have this title, yes. They have this title in the community. People are looking up to them. So one of my teachers actually very strongly insisted that, encouraged that I actually start another rigorous alim course with just talented students. And I said, but what about all the graduates? What are we going to do with them? They're the ones who are teaching in these seminaries. So our focus has just been less focus on them, empowering them to basically, if they can get it right, then all the students they will teach, the next generation, hopefully they can be better, right? That's basically our thought process behind this. And obviously some of the main challenges to secure the right type of teacher, to get that message across. You know, a very contemporary message, contemporary application, that's very important. Alhamdulillah, we have found some very good teachers. We could do with a lot more, obviously. Has this been the right venture? I think so. The proof will be in the pudding when it's cooked. Our graduates will not get from the iftar course, they don't get a certificate after the 2 years of completion. They wait another 3 years, they work in the field, and then if we feel and observe as a panel of muftis, we'll get together to see whether they deserve the title, then only will they get that title. That title has been very loosely thrown around and it's caused a lot of problem. We don't want to do that. Only after 5 years, 2 years of study, 3 years of practice, out there in whatever field they're going to do, that's what we're going to do. Just finally, to talk about the female participation, to be honest, I mean, I get surprised sometimes when we're still speaking about that, because I think, especially in White Thread Institute, and I think maybe even in Ibrahim College the last time I went there, there's a greater female participation than there are for... We've aside from the iftar class, many like the jurisprudence class, there are many more female scholars studying there than there are male, and it's, you know, they're catered for. the only difference is we think it's a very good idea. The reason is that generally female alima courses are generally cut down. They're a bit abbreviated. They don't get taught all the books. So what we're hoping to do is that it's good that we've got greater participation from them, so we can get them up to par hopefully with their male colleagues, and hopefully increase the number of competent female scholars in our community. The demand of them is obviously definitely on the increase. Jazakallah khair, thank you very much for listening, and thanks for the opportunity.